Part 24. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 232. Emperor Minky was once known as the emperor closest to the Calamity Realm in thousands of years. He also once stood proudly on the Lanchuan continent, looking down at the highest peak. But the once arrogant Emperor Minky failed in the final breakthrough. Not only did he fail to successfully break through to the realm of calamity, but his foundation even collapsed at the last moment. Under the thunder calamity, he finally died with hatred. After his death, the bones of Emperor Minky were buried in the Emperor Mausoleum. But no one expected that the bones of Emperor Minky would be dug out and refined by the dragon blood formation. At this moment, it was impossible to tell who the corpse that swallowed Emperor Fiyu was. However, the figure covered in blood exuded an unprecedented terrifying aura. A half-step disaster. Although the body of Emperor Minky still cannot break through to the Tribulation Realm, there has been no emperor in the Tribulation Realm for thousands of years in the entire Lanchuan continent. Even if it only reaches the realm of Tribulation Saint, it is still a terrifying existence that can turn the world around. The aura filled with endless death intent swept over Tianyun Palace, but almost made people from countless lands within thousands of miles look up to the sky. Its terrifying aura is enough to make the earth tremble. It's not good, be careful, there's something wrong with his aura. There was a hint of fear on the pretty face of the Blossom Saint, and she jumped in front of Chu Qingyu. Endless brilliance flowed out from behind her, and the majestic sacred elephant transformed into petals all over the sky. The 10,000 flowers sacred elephant, which has been inherited from the Holy Land for countless years, is mysterious and mysterious. But at this time, Emperor Minky, who had already devoured Emperor Fiyu, stepped forward. There was no spiritual energy fluctuation, and the blood-red body seemed as cold and silent as death. The space around him seemed to be the law of everything. The scarlet palm is filled with strange lines, and everything it passes by will be torn apart. The seemingly infinite and mysterious 10,000 flowers Dharma was completely torn apart the moment it was touched. The endless strange aura seemed to silence the world. Every time Emperor Minky took a step, the space was constantly twisting and trembling. The flower saint shows a trace of dignity and turns into a lotus that covers the sky and the sun with endless brilliance. Boom! Lotus flowers covered the sky and covered the earth, and the moment they touched the figure, they were completely destroyed into dust. How strong is he? No one expected that, as a powerful emperor, the Saintess of Flowers' attack would have no effect. At this moment, Emperor Minky's head suddenly turned, and with his twisted neck, he turned towards Chu Qingyu. The white teeth were exposed from the blood, and there was a weird smile on that twisted and ugly face. Taking one step forward, his figure suddenly approached. Boom! The imperial bell rang again, mixed with endless awe-inspiring power. The breeze blew by, and Chu Qingyu's slender skirt swayed with the wind. She was holding a green bamboo sword, and the Dharma slowly emerged behind her. Even though there are thousands of miles of dark clouds and the sky is gloomy, the cold figure standing in the mid-air seems to be a dazzling star. It's so beautiful that it's flawless. However, in the past, in the eyes of anyone, Empress Qingyu was one of the most powerful emperors in Lanchuan continent, and was extremely difficult to defeat. But what she is facing now is Emperor Minky, whose bones have been refined. A walking corpse, but also a monster that has only half a catastrophe to live. The sound of the imperial bell echoed, Chu Qingyu jumped forward, and actually fought with Emperor Minky, who had turned into a walking corpse. The sword energy is vertical and horizontal, the brilliance is flowing, and the hurricane is roaring. In the sky, bursts of unparalleled power of the great emperor spread in all directions. Its majestic power is astonishing. As expected of Empress Qingyu, she is so powerful. Emperor Minky has entered the half-step calamity realm, and the Empress can still resist him. Although Chu Qingyu was obviously at a disadvantage and looked up at the sky, Many people could not help but marvel. I wonder how long the Empress can last. Nai-Chen frowned slightly. This was the first time Chu Qingyu was at a disadvantage in a one-on-one situation. And the strange aura on Emperor Minky's body has begun to merge more and more completely. If this continues, no matter how strong Chu Qingyu is, he will not be able to fight against the monster that has been refined into the half-step tribulation realm. Nai-Chen, weren't you still so domineering just now? Why are you scared out of your wits now? In the sky, Emperor Yushin suddenly looked at Nai-Chen with a mocking smile. Although he didn't take action, hanging in the sky became a weapon to restrict everyone. With his presence, no one can interfere with this war. I just want to find a time to put that body to rest. Nai-Chen smiled slightly. To be laid to rest. After hearing these words, Emperor Yushin laughed instantly. After 100 years of preparation, Emperor Laiyan was beheaded and Emperor Fiyu became a sacrifice. They tried their best to refine the current monster with the dragon blood formation, just to kill Chu Qingyu here with tyrannical power. Even the two emperors Chu Qingyu and Blossom Saintess have been on the verge of retreating when they join forces. Is there anyone who can stop this situation? Today will definitely be the day when Tianyun Palace is destroyed, and it will also be the day when Empress Qingyu dies. Since you are so confident, just wait and see. Nai-Chen stared at the Emperor Yushin in the air with a smile on his face. The heavenly spirit jade flame is swallowing, 5.9/7. The heavenly spirit jade flame is swallowing, 5.97/7. The heavenly spirit jade flame is swallowing, 6/7. System prompts that the blood of the Emperor can speed up the swallowing speed. The eternal inheritance of Lanchuan continent, the heavenly spirit jade flame can use the world as a furnace to refine all things in the world. And when the heavenly spirit jade flame is at its strongest, it is also the moment when he is swallowed. There is only one chance, which cannot be missed. But if you want to speed up, you must use the blood of your wife's emperor. Nai-Chen looked up at the sky with a slight look. At this moment, the situation is obviously a little unfavorable. The strength of Emperor Minky began to become more and more terrifying, and the strange blood claws seemed to be able to tear the laws of heaven and earth. Everything in front of him was like nothing. Boom! The one who a holy elephant, which had been holding on for a long time, finally broke at this time. The Saint of Flowers was severely injured and retreated several steps, with blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. The ringing imperial bell had begun to become increasingly faint, and even Chu Qingyu's cold face had a drop of sweat on it, and the hand holding the sword was trembling slightly. Not good. Elder Wang below suddenly shouted in fear. At the same time, Emperor Minky's body suddenly moved, and all the laws of space were controlled by him. The space shook, blood filled the air, and the next moment, he appeared above Chu Qingyu, and the bloody palm suddenly grabbed. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 233. Not good. At this moment, countless people's expressions suddenly changed and they looked into the air in horror. They never thought that the body of Emperor Minky would actually have the power to change the laws of space. The scarlet bloody hand fell, and it seemed to be mixed with endless death intentions. If the front is photographed, even the Empress will probably be seriously injured. A look of solemnity appeared on Chu Qingyu's cold cheeks, but it all happened so fast that it was already inevitable. Haha, Empress Qingyu, I never thought you would be in such a mess. Emperor Yushin, who had been dormant for a long time, finally laughed coldly, his expression full of mockery. After waiting for so long, this moment finally arrived. Kill Empress Qingyu and behead the Holy Maiden of Flowers. Without Tianyun Palace, even the entire Lanchuan continent will fall into his hands sooner or later. However, just when Emperor Yushin was complacent and thought everything was fine, suddenly, thousands of feathers suddenly floated in mid-air. White feather Dharma appearance. The huge white feather Dharma images were actually in the air at the same time, and there were 3 identical Dharma images. Boom! Biodarmas Yang was hit 3 times in a row, but he was able to withstand this terrifying blow. However, under the strong aftermath, Chu Qingyu's figure was also blown away. Chu Qingyu had suffered considerable internal injuries after forcibly fighting with the corpse of Emperor Minqi for so long. But while flying in the air, she suddenly realized that her body was gently caught by something. Turning around, it was Nai Chen who gently wrapped his arms around his waist. Under the spotlight, Nai Chen gently hugged Chu Qingyu and helped her stabilize her body. Yes, yes, he is indeed a person who has awakened to the true form of Taoism. Although I don't know what means you used, those who can block this blow should not be underestimated. But as the smoke and dust dispersed, Emperor Yushin showed a cold smile. Is it possible that if you save him once, you can save him a second time? Certainly. Nai Chen ignored him at all, but turned around and faced Chu Qingyu. Honey, I need you to provide a little blood of the great emperor. Try to make it as pure as possible. Blood of the great emperor? Do you have any way to deal with that monster? Chu Qingyu showed a trace of doubt. Even she didn't understand how Nai Chen blocked the blow just now. Moreover, even the powerful Emperor Minqi might not be able to deal with the strange corpse of Emperor Minqi. Don't worry, I have a solution. Nai Chen smiled slightly and nodded. At the same time, in the smoke and dust, the body of Emperor Minqi reappeared with a strange blood color. His body seemed to have suffered trauma from the previous blow, but it was rapidly recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this moment, being held in Nai Chen's arms, the two of them were so close that even their breathing could be faintly audible. Moreover, countless disciples and monks from various forces gathered below, looking at the sky with almost everyone's attention. The blood of the great emperor, good. Chu Qingyu's voice suddenly became very small, even with a faint sense of shyness. Nai Chen was stunned for a moment, but before he could react, he saw Chu Qingyu's exquisitely beautiful cheek suddenly approaching. Immediately afterwards, Sakura's lips kissed her without any hindrance. The lips overlapped, and a stream of heat surged down the mouth. It was the blood of the great emperor. No, this level of purity is the original essence and blood mobilized by Chu Qingyu biting the tip of her tongue. The empress kissed Nai Chen. What the hell happened? All the disciples and elders of Tianyun Hall looked up at the sky in astonishment. The scene in front of them has completely impacted their cognition. Not only that, the Flower Holy Land, the Duanmu family, the Yongsuan section. There are many believers in Chu Qingyu among various sects. After all, that cold, arrogant, awe-inspiring existence is enough to make everyone admire him. But at this moment, they all saw clearly that the Empress actually kissed Nai Chen on her own initiative. The Empress' first kiss is gone. Although they felt that the Empress was driven by urgency, many male disciples were clutching their chests in pain. Envy, jealousy, hate. At this moment, they no longer knew which words to use to describe the feeling in their hearts. Damn it, Nai Chen, how come he happens to be next to the Empress? Nai Chen was also slightly stunned. Although the beauty's lips were soft, he did not expect that his wife would kiss him in this situation. But then, Nai Chen felt the warm current flowing down his throat like a flood, surging and mighty. The powerful emperor is a powerful existence that can stand proudly between heaven and earth. And Chu Qingyu stood on the top of the Lanchuan continent. The blood essence in her body was so pure that there was no flaw in it, and it seemed that she contained endless spiritual power. The heavenly spirit jade fire was indeed extremely difficult to swallow, but under the influence of this essence and blood, it actually began to retreat step by step. The surging spiritual energy in Nai Chen's body merged with Chu Qingyu's essence and blood, and rolled towards the heavenly green flames that still tried to resist. However, this resistance is obviously nothing to fear. Like a big wave of water, The endless spiritual energy was so powerful that it completely engulfed the pure sky spirit jade flame. Successfully swallowed the heavenly spirit jade fire. Congratulations to the host for receiving the system reward. Strength is upgraded to the late stage of the sea-breaking realm, skill points add 100, and the effect of the heavenly spirit jade flame can be used, 10,000 flames falling. When the heavenly spirit jade flame is swallowed, it is the most powerful moment. Boom! The endless surging pressure suddenly spread from Nai-Chen to the surroundings. Everyone looked up at the sky in astonishment, and saw the emerald green flame burning in the sky, almost completely covering half of the sky. The flame was not very hot, and even exuded a faint chill. However, the seemingly plain emerald green flame seemed to contain endless terrifying power. "Thank you, my wife, for your help." Nai-Chen smiled slightly. With the blessing of Chu Qingyu's blood essence, the spiritual power he can use temporarily is no less than that of the great emperor. It is magnificent and magnificent. The eternal inheritance of the alchemy way, the heavenly spirit jade flame, can use the world as a furnace and all living beings as materials. At this moment, the world is twisted. The world was a furnace, and endless blue flames rose up. Refine. With a hint of coldness in Nai-Chen's eyes, the raging blue flames fell from the endless void. Thousands of flames fell, and all living things were annihilated. And the object used as material was actually the body of Emperor Yushin that was refined. Boom! The blue flames covered the sky and the earth, and everyone could clearly see that the endless flames completely engulfed the body. Burn, refine, annihilate, and return to ashes. With Nai-Chen's finger, the person who had reached the half-step calamity realm was turned into a pile of ashes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 234. Almost everyone was stunned at this moment. Especially Emperor Yushin, looking at the blue flames falling in the sky, the look in his eyes became more and more crazy. The body of Emperor Minqi, who was half a step away from the disaster, was just gone. 100 years ago, in order to destroy the Tianyun Palace and avenge the Qingyu Queen, the three emperors prepared for countless years. Using the dragon blood formation as a guide and the bodies of Emperor Fiyu and Emperor Minqi as a medium. It took the death of the two emperors and the strange dragon blood formation that they finally understood to finally summon the existence of half a step away from the disaster. As a result, it was just reduced to ashes. That was the realm of the half-step saint, which was enough to reverse the laws of heaven and earth. What means did you use? Nai-Chen, I want you to die. From this moment on, even the always calm Emperor Yushin was completely eroded by rage. Seeing that the Tianyun Palace was about to be completely destroyed, he could never have imagined that things would turn around like this. Endless blood suddenly burst out. A huge formation emerged in the twisted space. The endless blood was absorbed into the body of Emperor Yushin, and suddenly, he exuded a weird and unpredictable feeling. With the blessing of the dragon blood formation, the sword in the hand of Emperor Yushin slashed towards Nai-Chen. Bang! But before the sword energy arrived, Nai-Chen grabbed it with his palm, and the blue flame with a terrifying aura completely swallowed the sword energy. It's just a junior. Emperor Yushin roared again, and the mountain and river map in his hand turned into a mountain thousands of feet high, suppressing it. The Emperor's blood can probably be used once, but it should be enough. Nai-Chen smiled slightly, looking up at the mountain that fell in the sky, but he was not afraid, but seemed calm and composed. Suddenly, countless flames gathered in one place under his control. The blue flames did not seem to be very dazzling, but it seemed to contain endless terrifying power. Boom! Anyone who came into contact with it was annihilated into dust in an instant. This is true even for the 10,000-foot high mountain. With the heaven and earth as a furnace, countless flames fell, and the huge mountain shattered. And the flames in the sky surged towards Emperor Yushin. Empress King Yu. Tianyun Palace. Nai Chen. Ah, you all will die. Emperor Yushin's eyes were bloodshot, and he burst into a hysterical roar. But no matter how loud the roar was, it was completely unable to stop the surge of flames. Endless blue flames descended, as if he was in an extremely hot furnace, and Emperor Yushin was engulfed and burned by the flames. He looked at his body, but found that every corner was burning with flames. The blue flames were sometimes cold and sometimes hot, but they kept eating away at his body. All that was left was endless pain. Nai Chen. Even the last word he uttered was unclear, and Emperor Yushin's crazy eyes were gradually engulfed, and his body began to annihilate. He clearly realized that he, as a great emperor, would be burned to ashes by the flames. I hate it. Finally, even though he struggled desperately, Emperor Yushin had no room to resist and was completely swallowed and melted by the flames. In the boundless pain, his body was annihilated into dust bit by bit. The soul is annihilated, and there is no burial place. A great emperor, annihilated. Emperor Yushin, is dead. Looking at the scene in the sky, for a moment, no one dared to believe what they saw with their own eyes. After all, that was a great emperor. Although senior brother Nai is strong, isn't he only at the sea-breaking realm? Senior brother Nai is not hiding his strength again, right? All the disciples of Tianyun Hall were dumbfounded. At this moment, Nai Chen had turned around and looked at the remaining forces of Emperor Fiyu, Emperor Yushin, and Emperor Leiyan under his feet. Rub his hands. Nai Chen's smile obviously carried a hint of subtlety. You dare to attack the Empress, you must not go easy today. What are you going to do? Although it was the army under the three emperors, so many cultivators felt unprecedented fear when facing Nai Chen. What for? Of course, I will smash your dog heads. Nai Chen suddenly jumped down. The golden Dharma image slapped down with one palm, and countless people were slapped into the sky like sandbags. The Nirvana Phoenix sword swung casually, and a sea of hot fire burned. Everyone clearly saw that Nai Chen's mouth was clearly smiling. But that smile made everyone feel cold in their hearts, and the attack became heavier and heavier. You dare to attack the Empress? You dare to come to Tianyun Palace to attack my wife? Seeing Nai Chen rushing into the crowd alone, wailing sounded everywhere. He was just like a wolf into a flock of sheep, unscrupulous. Nai Chen, don't think we are jealous. The two saint emperors under the seats of Emperor Fiyu and Emperor Yushin flew out and rushed towards Nai Chen in anger. Boy, die. Bang. But when the sword blade fell, the two arrogant Bahai realm masters found that there was a faint aura floating around Nai Chen's body, and their sword blades were completely blocked, and it was difficult to even break through the defense. Repelling the extremely yin energy, Nai Chen's arms flowed with light, and he punched down with two fists. Bang, bang. In an instant, the two saint emperors were blown away by a punch and fell heavily to the ground. Nai Chen took a step forward, and the strong pressure was like a mountain. In an instant, the chests of the two men were sunken, as if they were struck by lightning, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths, almost dying. Kill two saint emperors in an instant. As expected of senior brother Nai is too strong. In an instant, the morale of the disciples of Tianyun Hall was greatly boosted. At the same time, Nai Chen's body was completely differentiated into lightning, and merged into the bodies of the disciples. In the flashing lightning, Nai Chen said coldly, "Block their way and make them pay the price for what happened today." Yes. The morale of the disciples of Tianyun Hall was high, and their strength increased by an unknown amount in the midst of lightning. In contrast, even their own emperor was killed, and those cultivators had already shown a decadent trend, and they only wanted to try their best to escape. It was a pity that their way had been completely blocked, and Nai Chen led the killing sound. The thunder roared, the flames burned, and the situation took a sharp turn for the worse. Those who threw themselves at the enemy and those who were killed were killed. The cultivators who attacked the Tianyun Palace had been completely defeated. Amid the cheers, Nai Chen's reputation was rising. Brother Nai is awesome. Brother Nai is awesome. Amid the cheers of the disciples, Nai Chen ignored them and flew to Chu Qingyu's side. Having just fought against two emperors and Ming Qi, who was half a step away from the calamity, Chu Qingyu suddenly felt weak and almost fell. At this moment, Nai Chen suddenly appeared beside her and gently supported her. "Carry me back to the bedroom first." Chu Qingyu smiled slightly. "Carry me back." Nai Chen was slightly stunned. "Aren't there still many disciples down there now? Anyway, I just kissed you in front of everyone, it was just hugging." Chu Qingyu smiled slightly, leaned softly on Nai Chen's shoulder, and actually closed her eyes slightly. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 235. Nai Chen naturally couldn't refuse such a request. He picked up Chu Qingyu's soft body and headed towards the bedroom. Kill. For Tianyun Palace. Wait, that's it? The people who were fighting each other looked up at the sky and were suddenly stunned. Not only the Holy Land of Flowers, but also the cultivators from all the major sects were stunned at this moment. They clearly saw that Nai Chen was holding Chu Qingyu's cold and slender body in his arms and flying towards the bedroom. Nai Chen actually held the Empress. Did the Empress faint? No. No matter what, the Empress couldn't not resist. Everyone's brain suddenly buzzed and suddenly recalled the kiss Chu Qingyu gave Nai Chen just now. The situation was so critical at the time that most people had no time to care. But now thinking back, everyone was shocked. Not only did the Empress kiss Nai Chen, she also let Nai Chen hug her. Hum. 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 What on earth happened? There are thousands of beautiful words, but only two words can vent the emotions in my heart at this moment. The scene in front of me can no longer be described as outrageous. The fact that the Qingyu Empress allowed Nai Chen to hold her in her arms and even took the initiative to kiss Nai Chen was even more sensational than the news that there was one more great emperor in Lanchuan continent. After all, that was the Qingyu Empress. Even if it was speculated that the Empress kissed Nai Chen to transmit spiritual energy or to perform some ancient formation with triggering conditions, but now, what was it for? Near the Tianyun Palace, the cultivators were stunned and completely speechless. At this time, the figure of the flower saint floated down and blocked them. "Go and clean up the mess, don't look at the extra." The flower saint smiled softly, with 7 points of holiness and 3 points of charm, completely blocking everyone's sight. But although they couldn't see clearly, they knew clearly that Nai Chen carried Empress Qingyu into the bedroom. No matter what the truth is, this rumor will probably spread to all major sects tomorrow. Empress. Although I know it's impossible, I didn't expect my dream to be shattered here. Nai Chen, damn Nai Chen. I don't know how many cultivators cried, both men and women. After all, in their hearts, Empress Qingyu will always be the inviolable supreme existence. When the Empress wakes up, she will ask Nai Chen to explain it clearly. Everything just now must be false, accidental, and unexpected. It's definitely not true. I don't know how many people cried outside the palace, and inside the bedroom, Nai Chen gently put Chu Qingyu on the soft bed. Touching the pulse on the white wrist, Nai Chen could clearly feel that the spiritual energy in Chu Qingyu's body was a little thin, and she looked very weak. Even Chu Qingyu, after such a battle, could not avoid being injured. At this moment, she fell softly on the bed. Although she did not close her eyes, Nai Chen could feel a sense of weakness. She curled up slightly on the bed. Her soft body was like cotton candy, and with a hint of coolness. I am afraid no one would have thought that the high and mighty Empress Kingu would one day have such a scene that was as pitiful as a little rabbit. Her cherry lips were slightly white, and her long eyelashes trembled slightly. Nai-Chen felt a little distressed, and gently stroked Chu Kingyu's head and said, "You should have a good rest first. I will refine a few 7th grade pills for you, which should have a very good effect." After that, Nai-Chen was ready to leave. But as soon as he walked to the bed, he felt his wrist being firmly grasped. Looking down, it was Chu Kingyu's hand as clear as jade. "Wife, you want to fall asleep. If you refine a few pills, you should recover quickly." Nai-Chen smiled slightly and tried to pull Chu Kingyu's hand away. But he didn't expect that this time. Not only did he not pull it away, but the cool jade hand held it even tighter. "Wife, what do you mean?" Nai-Chen was a little confused. At this moment, Chu Kingyu gently opened her eyes. Although her beautiful eyes like stars were a little weak, they seemed to contain a smile. "Humph, this emperor doesn't need any pills. The body of the emperor doesn't have to be healed, but..." Before Nai-Chen finished speaking, he saw Chu Kingyu patting the bed beside him and smiled softly. "Compared to pills, you sleeping next to me for a while may be more effective. Wife, you really are." After a long silence, Nai-Chen finally laughed. "The Empress is usually arrogant, and she will never show it too obviously at any time. I didn't expect that the Empress would be so clingy when she was weak. Okay, then I will do my best." Nai-Chen lay down beside Chu Kingyu without hesitation. But as soon as he lay down, he saw Chu Kingyu approaching softly, and her beautiful face buried in his chest. Her hair fell down softly, carrying the fragrance of a lover. Soon, there was a sound of even breathing, and Chu Kingyu had obviously fallen asleep. There was a sweet smile on her beautiful face, and she seemed to be sleeping very peacefully and sweetly. Looking at Chu Kingyu in his arms, Nai-Chen couldn't help but smile slightly, and poked her soft face with his fingers, and then quickly retracted them. "Sleep well." Nai-Chen gently covered her body with the quilt and whispered. Lying next to Chu Kingyu, the flowing spiritual energy was constantly hovering in Nai-Chen's body. Host, Nai-Chen. Strength, late stage of sea opening realm. Remaining skill points, 210, consuming white feather aspect *1. Devouring speed of Tianling Jade Flame, 7/7. This battle directly caused Nai-Chen's strength to rise to the late stage of the sea opening realm. Not only that, the heavenly spirit Jade Flame has also been completely digested and devoured. This flame can be used as a furnace by heaven and earth, and all living beings can be used as materials. The flame that alchemists of all ages long for is completely controlled by Nai-Chen. However, after this battle, Lanchuan continent is not as simple as it seems on the surface. If you want to ensure that Tianyun Palace is worry-free, you need to improve your strength as soon as possible and reach the waiting realm as quickly as possible. That is, the best strategy is to reach the Great Emperor realm. Outside, the dark cloud slowly dissipated, and the sun shone down, revealing a hint of warmth. However, the crack torn in the sky still hasn't dissipated. The place was filled with a thick smell of blood and fishy smell, and it lingered completely. Chu Kingyu slept quietly facing Nai-Chen, breathing peacefully and sweetly. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, the sun set over the west mountain, and it was almost dusk. Finally, with a soft cry, the soft and delicate body moved. Immediately afterwards, Chu Kingyu slowly opened her eyes. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 236. When Chu Kingyu opened her slightly blurred eyes, the first thing she saw was Nai-Chen in front of her. Moreover, Nai-Chen had a smile on his lips. "Why are you sleeping here?" "No." Thinking back to the way she looked at Nai-Chen with a pleading look just now, Chu Kingyu's cheeks instantly turned red. Nai-Chen smiled and said, Wife, you took the initiative to invite me to sleep with you, how can I refuse? I didn't invite you. I just did it. Just. When the words came to her lips, Chu Qingyu had no idea what to say. Because the scene just now, no matter how much she tried to explain, it was simply not explainable. Tisk, just consider it a bargain for you. Chu Qingyu snorted lightly, but when she left Nai Chen's chest, her eyes inadvertently wandered. Humph, there is one thing I have to admit. What? Nai Chen was slightly puzzled. Your chest is, quite warm. After looking at Nai Chen with some resentment, Chu Qingyu's voice was as thin as a mosquito, and she quickly turned her eyes away after saying such embarrassing words. Haha, my wife, you are really honest in your words. Nai Chen was instantly amused. The Empress is indeed always cold, but only in this kind of solitude. Occasionally, in that coldness, she would quietly reveal a sense of shyness that is even more than the girl next door. The Empress at this time is simply more lovely than ever, and it is a perfect interpretation of what is the most standard in the world. After a light cough, Nai Chen said, "By the way, my wife, where is the flute I gave you? Anyway, there is plenty of time now, why don't I teach you how to play the flute?" No. Chu Qingyu shook her head quickly. Huh. Nai Chen was obviously stunned. Because I said I would learn to play the flute in one night, so I'll do it tonight, especially tonight Okay, let's not discuss this matter anymore. Chu Qingyu's cheeks were flushed, and she ended the topic quickly as if she was escaping. Although the Empress always showed shyness from time to time on weekdays, Nai Chen inexplicably felt that the Empress's attitude today seemed to be obviously a little wrong. Especially, when it came to tonight. Tonight, does my wife want to do something? Anyway, it's more lively at night, so Nai Chen didn't take it too seriously. Accompanying Chu Qingyu out of the bedroom, the two looked outside. At this moment, the three emperors' forces that besieged Tianyuan Palace have been completely destroyed. The dead died, the wounded were injured, and those who were unwilling to surrender to Tianyuan Palace had all been ruthlessly killed, and the rest had been captured. The three emperors' forces have disappeared. The dark clouds in the sky parted, and the sun shone down. However, the sky that seemed to be gradually clearing up, in the center of the dark clouds, was swept by an extremely strange blood color. In the endless blood-colored hurricane, it seemed that something was hidden, and it was completely lingering. What is that? Nai Chen frowned slightly, feeling a little weird. The remnants of the dragon blood array, or even something even weirder. Looking at the sky, Chu Qingyu's voice was a little solemn. Nai Chen asked, something even weirder? Chu Qingyu, well, maybe it's about the place where they dug out Emperor Minqi, Emperor's tomb. Emperor's tomb. Even though he had not been in Lanchuan continent for long, Nai Chen had an impression of this name. The place where the emperors of all dynasties in Lanchuan continent were buried, there were countless ghosts guarding it, and it was also full of secrets. It had been a long time since the emperor was buried there, and no one had entered the emperor's tomb for a long time. No one knew how many secrets were hidden in that place that was both respected and feared. Now, Fiyu and Emperor Yushin were able to steal the body of Emperor Minqi, who had once died after half a step of calamity, indicating that unpredictable changes may have occurred. As the most mysterious and unpredictable emperor's tomb in Lanchuan continent, there is a problem, which may be a huge change that can cause shock to the world. The consequences of this matter may be quite serious. Exploring the emperor's tomb is a matter for the future. Now, we must first find out what this is. Chu Qingyu looked coldly at the bloody vortex in the air. No one knows why the two emperors who controlled the dragon blood array are dead, but this bloody vortex still exists. Nai Chen nodded, and he and Chu Qingyu flew towards the bloody vortex in the air. The fierce wind pressure swept continuously, and the fishy smell was disgusting. The scene in the air seemed to want to stop the two people. But Chu Qingyu just waved his hand lightly, and the power of the emperor swept through instantly, and the extremely strong wind pressure instantly flattened all the obstacles in front of him. Stepping into it, there is actually a small world hidden in the blood-colored vortex. However, this small world is obviously very strange. The sky is full of blood, and the smelly wind is sweeping. Even the ground under your feet is dyed into a strange scarlet color. There are deep cracks on the ground, and those seemingly narrow cracks are exactly the same as the patterns of the dragon blood formation. At this moment, two twisted human bodies suddenly ran from a distance at a very fast speed like crazy. Their postures are extremely strange, like zombies, and their limbs are constantly shaking. Chu Qingyu coldly stretched out her hand and hooked her 5 fingers. Boom! Under the endless pressure, the two figures suddenly stagnated, their bodies hunched over, and a crisp sound was heard. Obviously, their bones were broken. But even so, their bodies did not fall down. They were able to withstand this blow. Nichien's eyes were slightly stern. Even among the great emperors, Chu Qingyu's strength was the best. There were very few people in the world who could withstand her blow. Even the strongest among the saint emperors would probably find it extremely difficult to do so. The strength of these two people before their death was probably immeasurable. Roar! Although the two bodies were not easily crushed, a roar suddenly sounded at this time. Countless blood colors condensed, and under the scarlet sky, blood like a river gathered in the air and turned into a huge blood dragon. A miserable and terrifying dragon roar resounded throughout the small world, as if it was infinitely majestic. However, a sword energy was slashed out, and the huge body seemed weak. Boom! The sword light fell, and under Chu Qingyu's seemingly casual sword, the blood dragon had no resistance at all, and the blood was instantly cut off and completely torn apart. The sword light soared into the sky, and even a crack was cut in the sky of the small world. The countless monsters hidden in it were annihilated in the miserable roar. The bloody world was swept away. However, even if everything was swept away, Chu Qingyu knew clearly. The emperor's tomb, which was regarded as a forbidden place and could not be entered by everyone, might have really been in trouble. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 237. Boom. In the sky, the blood-colored aura that had been lingering for a long time finally dissipated. In the blood-colored vortex, the figures of Nichien and Chu Qingyu emerged from it. Someone had just tried to break the blood-colored vortex in the sky, but it was completely useless. As expected of the Empress, the disciples were full of respect. However, compared to this, they were more concerned about another issue. Just now, Nichien carried the Empress back to the palace, and it took half an hour. Half an hour? What did Nichien do in this not too long time? Could it be true? If it were in the past, no one would have believed the rumors about the Empress. If anyone dared to spread such rumors, the rumor monger would have been beaten on the spot. But everything that happened today made the disciples feel that something was wrong. More importantly, in the face of their questions, Nichien did not speak, and the Empress also smiled with a faint smile that she had never had before. This situation has never been seen before. Even though it was not stated explicitly, it was as if the Empress acquiesced to the relationship between Nichien and her. Asshole, I can't stand it. Finally, someone stood up. This person was 8 feet tall, with a strong physique, his muscles were as hard as iron and stone, and even his face seemed to be full of tough guy determination. This person was Lu Gang, who was unparalleled in the physical training of the Vajra sect and was respected as the Holy Emperor for his strong physique. Lu Gang couldn't help but open his eyes wide, looking indignant. Nichien, You dare to be so close to the Empress and blaspheme the Empress, I want to challenge you. After all, there were not only Tianyunhal present, but also cultivators gathered from all directions. Cheers suddenly rose everywhere. Well done. I don't believe it. No matter how strong Nai Chen is, he is still worthy of the high and mighty Empress. The tolerance shown by the Empress just now must be an accident. Nai Chen must know what is high and deep. That's right. There are so many cultivators in the world who secretly admire the Empress, but no one is really qualified to contact the Empress. Lu Gang has already stepped out of the crowd, clenched his fists, and stared at Nai Chen with provocation. Okay, let's try it. Nai Chen smiled slightly and landed in front of Lu Gang, without any intention of refusing. Seeing this scene, many disciples of Tianyunhal couldn't help but feel worried. Many of them knew Lu Gang's identity very well. The inheritor of the Vajra sect, his body is perfectly matched with the body of the Vajra boy. Not to mention how strong he is, there are only a few people in the world who can break through Lu Gang's defense. Just his fist like a piece of iron is enough to kill people. Vajra sect, Lu Gang. At this time, Lu Gang had already clasped his hands together, and his aura was blazing. With a breath in his chest, Lu Gang's skin was already faintly covered with a layer of golden light. The flowing light covered his body, making his body as solid and unshakable as a copper wall and iron wall. Feeling the abundant power coming from his body, Lu Gang smiled slightly, looking a little proud. The body of the Vajra boy is a top secret skill passed down from generation to generation in our Vajra sect. Except for a very few inheritors who know the secret, no one in the world knows the real flaw of the Vajra boy's body. And if you can't find that flaw, no one can break the Vajra indestructible boy's body. Humph, Nai Chen, let me tell you what it feels like to be defeated today. Lu Gang raised a smug smile, and his body became more solid and unshakable. It's actually the Vajra indestructible body. The secret and hidden acupuncture points of the Vajra indestructible body have not been discovered until now. Damn, senior brother Nai may really run into a tough opponent this time. If you can't even break the defense, how can you win? As everyone was astonished, Lu Gang also took a step forward. His physique was unparalleled. Under his kick, the ground instantly cracked and shattered. Lu Gang had a huge momentum and was obviously extremely proud of his defense. Come on! He shouted loudly without taking Nai Chen seriously. His momentum was majestic and even a smug smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He firmly believed that no one could break his Vajra indestructible body. Unless it was a great emperor, no one could do it without knowing the key acupuncture point. Bang! But suddenly, Lu Gang's body suddenly stopped. It hurts so much. Lu Gang, who had not felt pain for many years, suddenly broke out in cold sweat and his legs were stiff and numb. He clearly saw Nai Chen kick him with precision and purpose, hitting him right between his legs. Instantly, Lu Gang's defense was completely broken, the protection of the Vajra boy's body was gone, and his face turned green with pain. Plop! Lu Gang's legs softened, and he fell directly to the ground, covering the area between his legs and rolling around in pain. His heart was even more turbulent, unbelievable. Impossible, impossible, the dense acupuncture points of the Vajra indestructible boy's body are the most important secret of our Vajra sect. How do you, an outsider, know its weakness? It hurts so much. Cold sweat dripped down, and Lu Gang rolled on the ground, in agony. Seeing this scene, many male disciples couldn't help but take a breath, took a step back, and quickly put their hands between their legs. Hiss. Although senior brother Nai is powerful, this kick is a bit fierce. It's terrible. If this kick hits me, I'm afraid that there will be no one in our family to inherit it. But senior brother Nai can actually see the weakness of the Vajra indestructible boy's body at a glance. It's really unbelievable. Everyone couldn't help but exclaimed. Looking at Lu Gang lying on the ground and rolling, Nai Chen was also a little helpless. There was no way. Who told me that I had already known the weakness of this body method by watching movies before crossing over? Not to mention one Lu Gang, even if there were 10 more, I would kick them one by one. If you are dissatisfied, you can challenge them all. I want to see if you have the ability to compete with me for the Empress. Nai Chen stood in place, with a majestic spirit. A large number of cultivators gathered here. Once these words came out, it was almost the same as challenging everyone present. Instantly, many people were excited and stepped forward to challenge without hesitation. Nai Chen, I, the Holy Emperor Feng Hui, come to challenge you. Nai Chen, can you take my blow? I don't believe it. My strong muscles have no effect. Can the Empress really be interested in a pretty boy like you? The 4 monks were completely enraged, and people stepped forward to challenge him one after another. But after a while, screams were heard everywhere. Nai Chen stood in place, not even moving an inch, and beat the challenger to the ground. On the stage, there was no situation that was not crushed. With cheers, Nai Chen seemed to have completely become the overlord of the stage. Looking at the scene in front of him, in the distance, Chu Qingyu's mouth inadvertently raised a warm smile. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 238. The awe-inspiring aftermath of the war between the 3 emperors almost astonished the entire Lanchuan continent. The terrifying imperial power was shocking. Seeing that the afterglow of the war finally slowly dissipated, monks began to gather towards Tianyun Palace, wanting to know the outcome of the war. But approaching the top of Tianyun Palace, they soon saw a towering arena. There were constant fights, and the one being challenged was always one person, Nai Chen. After hearing what happened, it seems that Nai Chen took advantage of the chaos and kissed Empress Qingyu, and even told the whole world. He threatened to set up an arena here, and if he didn't accept it, he would do it. Damn it, I have to fight him. Empress Qingyu is such an arrogant being, yet she was forcefully kissed by Nai Chen. I want to kill him, ah. Even though no one dared to say it personally before, there were so many monks in the world who secretly admired Empress Qingyu and only dared to think secretly in their hearts. Among them, there are even some powerful saint emperors from the sea-opening realm. No one could bear to hear this kind of provocation. After all, Empress Qingyu is the supreme being in their hearts who can never be offended. Even Nai Chen cannot be blasphemed. The monks who came from all over had already forgotten the purpose of their coming, and they all came to the stage to challenge with righteous indignation. But these arrogant and powerful men who were confident in their own strength all discovered that Nai Chen's strength was not as simple as they thought. Although it has not been long since he entered the Bahai realm, his terrifying strength is not comparable to that of the ordinary holy emperor. All the monks who came on stage were beaten until their noses were bruised and their faces were swollen, and they could only cry and beg for mercy. Brother Nai, please be merciful. I was just joking. Ah, no. Bang, bang, bang. The arena stood on the top of Tianyundian mountain for 3 full days. And within these 3 days, the monks from all over the place who came to challenge were all beaten worse than the last. In particular, many of them are the holy emperors who command one side, and they usually enjoy the awe and unlimited scenery in their own territory. As a result, when he came here, not only was he beaten violently, but he also lost all the face he had gained over the years. In just 3 days, Nai Chen's reputation spread to the ears of monks all over the world. Holy Emperor Killer, Empress Killer, the thickest skin in the world. None of the names can be used to describe Nai Chen appropriately. However, everyone is clearly aware of one thing. This Nai Chen, he is really not easy to mess with. Also, there is who. Looking down at the arena, Nai Chen's voice echoed on the top of Tianyun Palace. But this time, no one responded. The 3-day arena has come to an end. The only winner is Nai Chen. The other people who secretly admired the Empress and came to challenge her were beaten until they covered their faces and did not dare to say another word. Ding, the host successfully challenged all possible love rivals and won, successfully maintaining the sole position of the Empress's husband. Release system rewards, repeat the same trick. Repeat the old trick. Nai Chen was stunned for a moment, a little curious as to what this strangely named reward was. The system did not explain. But its silence made Nai Chen even more curious. Normally the system would answer almost any question you ask, but this time it was inexplicably so mysterious. This repetition of old tricks may be of great use. Ouch, it hurts. Sounds of painful crying rang out one after another. The arena was finally dismantled, and Nai Chen slowly walked to Chu Qingyu's side. "Honey, your husband's heroic appearance on stage is pretty good." Nai Chen smiled proudly. But when he looked at Chu Qingyu, he saw her staring straight at him. Nai Chen couldn't help but feel a little doubt in his heart. But that's it? Just like the ice is released, spring comes and the first flowers bloom under the warm sunshine. This beautiful smile is not as beautiful as the spring breeze. On the side, the disciples who accidentally saw the scene were all stunned. Such an empress was something they had never seen before. It was starting to get dark. After 3 days of hard work, most of the broken parts of Tianyuan Palace have been repaired. The forces under Emperor Fiyu, Emperor Leiyan, and Emperor Yushin have been beheaded and surrendered, and they have been almost dealt with. From time to time, monks flew over and were shocked and amazed when they saw the huge pit marks left over from the Tianyuan Palace battle. That is the war between the great emperors, which is enough to make anyone feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. So, even though you used my great emperor's blood, how on earth did you summon enough to even burn the corpse of half a calamity? Chu Qingyu looked at Nai Chen. It's a secret. Nai Chen smiled implicitly. Secret? You actually have a secret for me? Especially about the Holy Land of Flowers, how many secrets have you kept from this emperor? Chu Qingyu stared at Nai Chen quietly, with a subtle smile on her lips. She pinched Nai Chen's waist with her fingers and began to exert slight pressure. Hiss. Yudiandian, really only Yudiandian. Nai Chen answered quickly, but quickly endured the pain with a mean smile on his lips. Actually, honey, you can also know my secret if you want to. Even though there are so many people nowadays, even if I have many secrets that I want to tell you, my wife, I still can't tell them. It would be better to wait until the dead of night, when we close the door of the palace, and talk in detail bit by bit. In the palace, okay, then wait until night and come to my palace. I will be there. But turning his head inadvertently, Nai Chen suddenly saw that Chu Qingyu was slightly red, and she was extremely shy. This feeling of shyness is far worse than before. This time, even Nai Chen was completely stunned. What he said just now was just a joke. After all, he had threatened to spend the night in the palace. And he did stay in the palace for 2 nights in good health. But why, when today's empress heard what she just said, something was obviously not right. Especially the hint of shyness was completely different from before. No, don't misunderstand, didn't you promise to teach me how to play the flute when you come back? Just in time to kill the hidden dangers of the 2 emperors, tonight seems to be a good time to play the flute. Chu Qingyu quickly tried to explain. Is it because, like this? Although it seemed reasonable on the surface, Nai Chen always felt that today's empress was very different. It even seemed like there was some secret waiting for him. After saying what she just said, Chu Qingyu immediately seemed to be running away and turned around with a blushing face. Turning his back to Nai Chen, he flew away towards the palace. The sun shone down, only reflecting the graceful and flawless figure. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 239. Looking at Chu Qingyu's figure disappearing into the distance, Nai Chen couldn't help but feel a slight throbbing in his heart. Even a fool can tell that the Empress must be hiding some secret that she is totally embarrassed to tell. No matter what it is, tonight must be an extremely beautiful night. The sun had not yet completely set. Walking near Tianyun Palace, Nai Chen suddenly saw a familiar figure. It was Duan Muhong. Haven't seen you for a long time. Nai Chen slightly cupped his hands towards Duan Muhong. After the alchemy conference, he happened to pass by and saved Duan Muhong's life. Unexpectedly, Duan Muhong was so grateful to repay his kindness. Even when faced with two great emperors, he did not hesitate to bring his tribe to help. Such an upright person is indeed worthy of association. Brother Nai Chen, it's been so long. When he saw Nai Chen, Duan Muhong immediately showed joy and quickly greeted him warmly. I didn't expect that I would have the opportunity to meet Brother Nai Chen before I left, haha. Although Duan Muhong is 1,000 years old, he still looks young and handsome, and he looks extremely cheerful and unrestrained. I didn't expect to see Brother Duan Mu again. It's rare to meet such a pleasing person, and Nai Chen responded enthusiastically. The two of them obviously liked each other very much. They got together and soon they were chatting happily. Nai Chen admired Duan Muhong's silver spear and superb physique, which was far beyond the strength of the ordinary holy emperor. Duan Muhong was also amazed that Nai Chen dared to forcefully kiss Empress Qingyu. In the whole world, let alone anyone who dared to kiss the Empress forcefully. Anyone who dared to offend the Empress has long been dead. It is completely incomprehensible that Nai Chen was able to forcefully kiss the Empress and nothing happened and he was safe and sound. Although he didn't know the cause and effect, Duan Muhong was completely shocked. Ha ha ha, Brother Nai Chen is indeed the most promising young Chuxiu. In the entire Lanchuan continent, I'm afraid there isn't any genius who can compare with you. Ha ha ha, the same goes for Brother Duan Mu. Even among the holy emperors, there is still a lack of heroes like you. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. After a wild laugh, the two enjoyed commercial compliments to each other. Aolan was left standing alone, his little eyes filled with helplessness. Is this a human man? When complimenting each other, his face is thicker than a city wall. However, in addition to commercial flattery, Nai Chen and Duan Muhong also have many common topics. The two chatted happily together. After a while, the conversation became more and more speculative, talking about life ideals from all over the world. At the same time, Duan Wang, who had just finished his hard work and finally dismantled the arena, was walking with the disciples, looking very embarrassed. Duan Wang was obviously filled with anger that was being held in his chest. Finally, he couldn't bear it anymore. Damn Nai Chen. First they took advantage of me and made things difficult for me, and now they make me come here to work as a coolie. Nai Chen, you and I are inseparable. When it comes to his grievances with Nai Chen, Duan Mu Yang has too many to count. Not only was the identity of the disciple deacon taken away, but Nai Chen stole the limelight by riding a dragon. Duan Wang felt angry when he recalled the scene where junior sister Kei Ruling ran towards Nai Chen happily every time Nai Chen came back. How could I be inferior to Nai Chen, yet he would actually take away all my glory? And not only that, even the Empress who never wanted to look at anyone else was very fond of Nai Chen. From now on, no matter what Nai Chen does, I will definitely do the opposite. Even if I, Duan Wang, die, I will never succumb to Nai Chen in this life. Sooner or later, I will fight Nai Chen gang to the end and let him know who is the real proud son of Tianyun Palace. Duan Wang couldn't help but shouted angrily, appearing extremely angry. But senior brother Duan Mu, senior brother Nai is a very nice person and very strong. Are you sure you can beat senior brother Nai? Seeing Duan Mu Yang's angry look, the female disciple on the side couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Of course. How can I, Duan Mu Yang, give up easily. In front of the female disciples in the sect, Duan Mu Yang naturally could not lose his face. He was immediately filled with righteous indignation, slapped his chest hard, gritted his teeth and said, "No matter how powerful Nai Chen is, how can he be stronger? Not to mention that I will be able to surpass him sooner or later. Even if I can't beat Nai Chen now, as a dignified man of 7 feet, I, Duan Wang, stand upright and will never succumb to him. Nai Chen is my lifelong enemy, and I will never show weakness to him no matter what. If that day comes, I, Duan Mu Yang, will be a dog. You can even dive into the toilet and swim in front of everyone." I didn't expect that senior brother Duan Mu would have such a firm awakening even when facing senior brother Nai. Although Nai Chen's reputation and prestige were extremely good in Tianyuan Palace, at this moment, several disciples who heard these words felt a little moved. That the once cynical Duan Mu Yang was able to say such words proved his unwavering determination. The prodigal son never changes his mind, even if Duan Wang has no strength to compete with senior brother Nai. But being able to make such a determination shows that Duan Wang has indeed changed. After all, no one jokes about their race or swimming in the toilet. Senior brother Duan Mu, senior brother Nai seems to be right in front. At this moment, a disciple suddenly pointed forward. Everyone looked in the direction and found that Nai Chen was standing there, and on the road that everyone had to pass. What a coincidence, how could he really be here? Duan Mu Yang's expression froze and he was stunned for a moment. But in front of so many disciples, he had just made a poisonous oath, and no matter how hard he tried, Duan Mu Yang would never break his promise. Is Nai Chen really there? Then let him see today. Although I, Duan Mu Yang, am not as strong as him, and my cultivation is not as good as his. But in terms of momentum and pride, I will never lose to anyone. Duan Mu Yang said proudly to the person behind him, and then pretended to be fearless and walked towards Nai Chen. Nai Chen, do you think I'm afraid of you just because of your strength? I, Duan Mu Yang, have never been afraid of anyone in my life. Today, I'm going to let you know. Grandpa. Duan Mu Yang's eyes suddenly stopped when he was halfway through his heroic words. Then his voice trembled, like an old rooster crowing. He clearly saw that the figure who was chatting and laughing with Nai Chen just now, as if they were close friends, was no one else, but the ancestor of the Duan Mu family, that is, his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. At this moment, Duan Mu Yang was completely dumbfounded. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 240. Grandfather, why are you here? Looking at Duan Mu Hong in front of him, Duan Mu Yang was completely dumbfounded. It was not because Duan Mu Hong was in Tianyuan Palace, but why was the relationship between him and Nai Chen so close? You kid is here too. Looking at Duan Mu Yang coming over, Duan Mu Hong pulled him in front of Nai Chen and smiled slightly. This is my grandson who is not doing well. I heard from his parents that he is often cynical and does not listen to teachings. If he does something excessive, brother Nai Chen, don't be polite, just beat this kid to death on my behalf. I am good at beating people. At first glance, Duan Mu Hong, as a grandfather, is obviously much younger and more handsome than Duan Mu Yang, and he has a bit of righteousness on him. Obviously, one is hundreds of years younger than the grandson. But the two of them look like they are not of the same level of temperament. At this time, Duan Mu Hong turned to look at Duan Mu Yang, and said solemnly, Nai Chen is a very close friend of mine. You are lucky to be able to worship under the Empress. In the future, you must restrain your bad habits, especially when facing your grandfather Nai Chen, you must be respectful. Also, although Nai Chen and I are not sworn brothers, our relationship is as tacit as brothers. You respectfully call me great-grandfather. Call Nai Chen great-grandfather. Duan Muyang was completely stunned. Not long ago, he and Nai Chen were both outer disciples of Tianyun Hall. How come there was a great-grandfather in the conversation? It's really a matter of each of us. You call me senior brother, and I call you great-grandfather. And it's not just that. I just boasted in front of everyone, and now all the disciples are watching from the side. If I really call Nai Chen great-grandfather, wouldn't I be completely embarrassed? No, I am a man of 7 feet tall. Even if I die today, I will never call Nai Chen if I jump down from here. Duan Muyang was halfway through his words when he suddenly noticed the coldness hidden in his ancestor's eyes. Even the air around him seemed to be floating with a faint murderous intent. Duan Muyang suddenly recalled that although his ancestor was now chatting and laughing with Nian Chen, his smile was very gentle. But in fact, as a saint emperor, Duan Muhong was extremely decisive in killing. That silver spear never showed mercy. Whether facing clan members or enemies, Duan Muhong's majesty would never be violated. Relying on his own land, he led the entire Duan Mu family to dominate one side. How could the Tibetans provoke Duan Muhong? Duan Muhong usually acted very decisively, and he would never show mercy even in the family. Looking at the chilling coldness in the ancestor's eyes, Duan Muyang couldn't help but tremble slightly. He fully believed that if he refused what the ancestor said, the next moment, a silver spear would suddenly appear and pierce him with a bloody hole. On one side were the disciples watching, and on the other side was the murderous aura from the ancestor. Duan Muyang had a sad face, and he never thought that he would encounter such a thing inexplicably. But no matter what, face is not as important as life. I said it, isn't it okay? Duan Muyang finally didn't dare to wait any longer, and had to face Nai Chen with a sad face. Great-grandfather. Hey, good grandson. Nai Chen smiled and touched his head. The damage was not high, but it was extremely insulting. The disciples watching all heard the crisp voice of the great-grandfather clearly. In addition to almost not laughing, everyone showed a hint of embarrassment. What did senior brother Duan Mu say just now? It seems that if you surrender to senior brother Nai, you will just jump into the manure pit like a dog and swim. Well, remember it, so that senior brother Duan Mu won't deny it later. It just so happens that I have diarrhea these 2 days. If the manure pit is not big enough, I can help senior brother Duan Mu. The scene was extremely embarrassing for a while. The disciples wanted to see what it was like to swim in the manure pit with their own eyes. After all, they had never seen such a smelly scene. Duan Muyang wanted to find a pit to bury himself immediately. This is the biggest social death scene, right? At this moment, Duan Muhong suddenly looked at him. You are a young man with blood and vigor, look at how depressed you are. No, call it again. Grandpa. Duan Muyang was heartbroken, but under the strong sense of oppression, he had to call it again. No, the voice is not loud enough, do it again. Grandfather. Not enough. Nai Chen is my great-grandfather. From now on, we will talk about our own things. You call me junior brother Duan Mu, and I call you great-grandfather. The voice echoed over the Tianyun palace. This time, everyone clearly understood the relationship between the two. It turned out that Nai Chen was Duan Muyang's great-grandfather. After talking with Nai Chen for a long time, Duan Muhong was satisfied and ready to leave. Before leaving, he reminded Duan Muyang again. Practice well and honestly in Tianyun Palace. If you dare to do anything disrespectful to your great-grandfather, don't blame me for stabbing you with a gun. I understand. Looking at Duan Muhong's figure who finally left, Duan Muyang couldn't cry. He had never been so heartbroken. Grandfather, I still need to swim in the manure pit. Pa, it's getting late, I'll take my leave first. Duan Muyang respectfully said goodbye to Nai Chen, and only dared to turn around and leave after getting his consent. Great, I can finally watch senior brother Duan Mu swim. I heard that senior brother Wang was constipated today, and the manure pit seemed a bit smelly. Isn't that just right? Hiss, now that you put it that way, it seems to be true. The disciples were also excited, looking forward to Duan Muyang fulfilling his promise. Nai Chen couldn't help but smile helplessly when a grandson suddenly appeared out of nowhere. But he had to admit that it felt good to have a grandson. At this moment, the sunlight had gradually been swallowed up by the West Mountain. The Tianyuan Palace was still operating normally as usual. But no one noticed that in the Empress's bedroom, a flickering candle light had been lit up much earlier than before. What on earth did the Empress want to do when she went to her bedroom? Nai Chen couldn't help but fall into some thoughts. The Empress's words were deceiving. Nai Chen didn't believe that the Empress really wanted him to go to the palace to teach her how to play the flute. But what else could it be? Nai Chen couldn't help but cough lightly, becoming more and more curious and expectant. The sunset was setting, and the night was shrouded. With the last trace of the sunset, Nai Chen slowly walked towards the direction of the palace. Today's palace was obviously different from the past, and today's Empress was also obviously a little bit wrong. Pushing the door open, night had completely fallen. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 241. Pushing the door open, Nai Chen could see clearly in the flickering candle light. Chu Qingyu sat quietly on the bed, staring at her beautiful and charming crystal jade feet. Her long jade legs were folded in her arms, and her skin was as white as snow. She was obviously thinking about something. The door was suddenly opened, and Chu Qingyu raised her head instantly. Her pretty face was stained with a layer of blush, and she looked at Nai Chen in panic. Then, she quickly turned her head, trying to hide the shyness. However, such an action was even more obvious. Nai Chen could clearly feel that there was something wrong with the Empress today. And it was very wrong. Ahem, are you feeling better, wife? In order to ease the embarrassment, Nai Chen coughed twice and asked awkwardly. Well, the pills you gave me are very effective. Even the injuries caused by the joint efforts of several people were quickly repaired. Chu Qingyu nodded slightly, but she was completely unable to maintain her usual coldness and calmness. Yes, yes, aren't you going to teach me how to play the flute? Look, I'll learn it in one night. Chu Qingyu suddenly thought of something and quickly took out the bamboo flute from under her pillow. Nai Chen smiled and took the bamboo flute. Okay, then I'll give it a try. Sitting next to Chu Qingyu, Nai Chen carefully explained to her the techniques and methods of playing the flute, including the 5 notes from another world, gong, shang, xiao, zheng, and yu, as well as the finger strength, angle, and light and heavy posture required when playing the flute. Chu Qingyu nodded curiously and quickly memorized it. Since you have learned it, my wife, you can try it. Nai Chen handed the bamboo flute to Chu Qingyu. What I just learned was just theory, and practice is a little different after all. So Nai Chen held her hand and gently leaned close to Chu Qingyu. Don't use too much force on this finger, relax, relax. Don't tighten your wrist too much, and the angle here. Nai Chen adjusted Chu Qingyu's fingers. The jade hand was touched so gently, and because of the angle, it was almost half held in Nai Chen's arms. Feeling the warm breeze brought by the words of advice from time to time, Chu Qingyu's ingot-like ears could not help but turn slightly red. It was a short time, but it was so long, but it made people feel a little relieved. Nai Chen explained very patiently, and soon, he finished explaining all the most practical skills. The master leads you to the door, and the practice is up to you. Wife, the rest depends on you. Nai Chen took out a music score that was not easy to play. If it were any beginner, it would be a fantasy to want to play this difficult music score. But there was no way. Who told me that I was facing the Empress now? Besides, I had to increase the difficulty for my wife. Just give it a try, I am still very confident in my talent. Chu Qingyu smiled confidently. For some reason, the feeling of Nai Chen explaining the flute method was so warm and reassuring. The candlelight flickered and was warm. If possible, she would like to listen to it for a while longer. But it was time to show it off. Chu Qingyu picked up the bamboo flute and gently placed it on her cherry lips. Her moist cherry lips were as beautiful as green leaves soaked in dew in the morning. Every word Nai Chen said emerged in her mind. Every detail on the bamboo flute seemed to be engraved in Chu Qingyu's heart. At this moment, everything seemed to have been integrated. Among the complex music scores, Chu Qingyu chose the most difficult one without hesitation. Her fingers danced like a flying butterfly. The melodious music floated out from the bamboo flute, graceful and clear, like the sound of nature. Each tune not only did not violate the music score at all, but even added a bit of sublimation to it. It was obviously the first time to touch the bamboo flute and the first time to see this music. No one could see the level of Chu Qingyu's performance. The flawless sound of the flute carries a sense of coolness, which is in line with the score, but also transcends the score. It is like echoing in the empty valley, and that special feeling makes people immersed in it. Climax, ending. With the sound gradually calming down, Chu Qingyu slowly put down the bamboo flute in her hand. This song is like the sound of nature, even better than many people who have been immersed in music theory and practiced for many years. Good, my wife plays it so beautifully. Nai Chen couldn't help but clap his hands. Sure enough, it was just as he expected. Except for cooking, Chu Qingyu is almost all-round and talented. The level of this song, even with the help of the system, can barely surpass it a little. Huh, you know how powerful this emperor is. Chu Qingyu smiled, and the corners of her slightly raised mouth were actually a little playful. Of course, I've known for a long time that you, my wife, are omnipotent. In the whole world, is there anything that can stump my wife? Nai Chen praised with a smile. That's good to know. Chu Qingyu slowly put the bamboo flute on the bed, and gently put her slender legs together. There was suddenly a hint of something different in her expression. In fact, there is something else that I want you to come to the palace for today. Something else? Nai Chen was slightly stunned. Because of Chu Qingyu's flute just now, he almost forgot that he found Chu Qingyu with a little something wrong when he just entered the palace. Yes, actually, I want to give you a Valentine's Day gift, and another one. Chu Qingyu's voice became smaller and smaller, and it seemed a little like a mosquito. She gently took out an exquisite box from behind the table, and said in a small voice. This is the love bento prepared by this emperor for you. As the box was opened, dark green gas rose up. In the bento, green soup was bubbling, mixed with green, purple, black, and various indescribable objects. Nai Chen suddenly remembered that before he went to the Dandao conference, Chu Qingyu said that there was a surprise for him after he came back. He thought of many possibilities, but Nai Chen never thought that the gift would be a dark dish of love bento. This is really not okay, my wife, you can't eat this bento. Nai Chen hurriedly stepped back. The food made by the Empress is comparable to the most terrifying poison pill. Even if the Saint Emperor eats more, he will probably die. Just eat a bite. Not even a bite. Damn it, this is the love bento made by this emperor himself. This is obviously a dark dish. Nai Chen tried his best to push away the dark dish in Chu Qingyu's hand. But suddenly, he had nothing in his hand. Chu Qingyu suddenly put away the love bento, and Nai Chen, who was exerting force, suddenly lost his support point. Surprisingly, he fell on the bed. With his arms propped up on the soft bed, Chu Qingyu just lay diagonally on the bed, within his arms. Those eyes as bright as stars were flowing with a different look. Nai-Chen suddenly realized that he might have been fooled.